We called it ICYM. ICYM stood for Immaculate Conception Youth Ministry. I was 13 years old when I walked into a small blue room. I stood awkwardly as everyone around me talked to one another. I was new, while everybody knew each other. As we went around the circle, we told each other our names and age. I was the youngest amongst mostly 16-year-olds. I felt uneasy as everyone around me said the words Laus Deo, meaning praise be to God, in Latin at the end of the meeting. This is how they ended every meeting. I silently watched them speak these words. I wanted to be just like them, happy and alive and totally in love with Catholicism, but more importantly, I wanted to love Christ like they did. I, however, wasn't happy. I was questioning why I was even alive. Needless to say, Christ and I didn't have an ideal relationship. I became very active in the youth group pretty quickly, although I stopped believing in God shortly after I joined. I fell sick and felt totally hopeless, but every Sunday, my mom made sure I was not only at Mass, but also at ICYM. I had friends there, so it wasn't a total drag, just a partial one. I wanted to feel accepted, and I wanted to find God. And even in the midst of my hatred for him, I knew he was the only one who could make my heart whole. By the end of my 8th grade year, I was a believer again. That summer, we went to Steubenville, Ohio, for a summer youth conference. There were thousands of Catholics from all over the country coming together to learn more about God and the Catholic faith. A wave of teenagers tossed across the auditorium, singing and laughing. The retreat was life-changing. I was on my way to being the best Catholic I could be. But as we all know, there has to be a plot twist, and mine happened at the end of that summer. I was entering my freshman year of high school. I had been sick for a while. With most illnesses, there are complications, and I experienced one. Of course, because what kind of story would this be if I didn't? I lost 30 pounds in a few short months. I was 90 pounds walking a high school hallway where I didn't fit in. I was unable to keep food inside me, not from my own choosing. I stopped talking to people. I felt lightheaded all the time. I decided God couldn't be real if I was going through this much pain and no one believed me that my illness was real. Doctors told me I needed to stop lying to them and that I was doing this to myself. I would break down and cry all the time because I wasn't doing this to myself. And then the thought of, what did I do to deserve this, came into play. This continued into my sophomore year. I was still going to youth group and church. I decided I was no longer Catholic that year, but I held on to Jesus. He was my Savior, and I knew that, but that wasn't always my first thought. Due to the severity of my illness, I was hospitalized 3 times from November 2012 to March 2013. I became familiar with the hospital's routines and medications I was told to take. I followed the rules and did as I was told to do so I could get home faster. After my second time being hospitalized, I went to ICYM's lock-in retreat. I was a leader and I would open with prayer, something my youth pastor told me I was gifted in. I didn't feel gifted. I felt hopeless. I knew I had a long night ahead of me. I had gotten out of the hospital the day before and I was totally exhausted, but I pushed through because I loved the people in that room. As I continued to go to ICYM the rest of my sophomore year, I discovered a lot of things. God didn't care if I believed in the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or any church for that matter. God just wanted me to have a personal relationship with Him. As I went into my junior year of high school, I stopped going to Mass, but I continued to go to ICYM. But my time there was scattered. I knew that no longer being Catholic might make things awkward for me and those around me. But I also knew I needed to surround myself with believers. And I did just that by going to ICYM most Sundays. As the next year and a half went on, I saw Christ more and more around me. ICYM gave me the background I needed to come out of my shell and find myself and what I believe. If it wasn't for Immaculate Conception's youth ministry, I don't know if I would be a Christian today. Before I left for college, I had the honor of writing on the wall, a tradition graduates get to do. The wall read, "It's not about finding God here in this room, but instead seeking Him further. I didn't find God here. I found Him on my own. Don't feel discouraged if you cannot seek Him here. Do your own searching, and if that means going somewhere else to find the Lord and the true church, do it. Hold on to your faith and never give up, because He never gave up on you. Laus Deo."